My name's Roger Richards. I serve currently as a producer for a project that we're going to be introducing tonight. About 2 years ago, I heard the Blue Avian message for the first time, and it hit me directly in the heart. Anybody else have a similar experience? I think all of us are being brought together right now for various reasons, and the world is coming to a place where we're being brought up in a higher vibration. And Corey here, you know, you're at the front line of that, man. The front line of that. And he was tasked to bring the message of the Blue Avians to a larger audience. And it was probably about 4 months ago when he came to me with this idea for a comic book. How do you get this information to the people that are shut down, the people that are locked up? How many of you have family members that you would love to introduce this to, but have no way of doing that? When Corey said comic book at first, I kind of was like, what? And then I thought about it, and it makes sense, you know? Comic books have been used going back to World War II as far as a way of disseminating information. The images, the combination of simple text with images, it's very much like an infographic. It lands and it plants those seeds in the subconscious. Corey's been avid about trying to find a way that is an all ages, platform for this message to go out. So as he talked with me more and more, this developed, and then lots of people started coming on board. We now have a very large team of creative individuals, and what we're going to play for you tonight is the launch of the trailer here for Sphere Being Alliance, Return of the Guardians. Welcome, everyone. Enjoy the evening.
What is their message?
Their message for humanity is that we need to become more loving, we need to become forgiving of ourselves and forgiving of others. We need to focus on becoming more service to others on a daily basis. And we need to focus on raising our vibration and our consciousness.
Holy crap, right? I'll just say it now. I'm Jimmy Church. I'm here to introduce Corey, Fade to Black, Coast to Coast AM. Are you guys all believers? Are you? I'm so humbled to introduce Corey. I've done this a lot over the last year, introducing Corey and David, and you guys all know that. So yeah, here I am. No big deal. But you know what? Everybody wave at me right now. That's for Corey, all right? All right, I'm going to keep this. We're all here to hang out with Corey, so I'm going to keep this very brief. I do want to say this. Every time that I introduce Corey, or I bring him on the show, or we're doing interviews, I say the same thing, and I really mean this. I get emails, I get comments. Everybody knows about Corey, myself, and David's relationship, right? You guys all get that. You've all heard the interviews, right? Okay, all right. Everybody says, why don't they talk more? Why aren't we getting information? Why don't they talk more? Right? And I'm like, that's all they do. Right? That's all they do is they're writing, the websites, the web presence, the YouTube, Fade to Black. They would be on Fade to Black or Coast to Coast every week. I have to book other guests. I do. But I would do that. They are right there. Corey, am I wrong in saying that? Can I shut you up? Say no. That's what he wants to do. That's what he is here to do today. I am so excited. Please listen to everything that he has to say. It's not about to question things or to have judgment. It's to collect information and share that knowledge with your friends. We are at the brink of things. Can you guys feel this? No longer are we the strange group, man. It's the rest of the world that's tripping. Am I right? I'm going to say this right now, and I mean this. I want to introduce my good friend to you, Mr. Corey Goode. Corey, get it up here.
Thank you. Is this a sign? Well, thank you for joining me. I appreciate everyone that's live streaming at home joining me as well. Let me position myself. First of all, I want to thank Roger and Renee for putting all this together for me. It's outstanding. Thank you. Most of you have heard my story, and I'm going to go over it again. So, a lot of this you've already heard, but you have some eye candy to go with it this time. When I was about the age of 6, I was pulled into a program that we refer to as the MyLab program. They identified me through standardized testing originally. Come to find out that my family has been a part of a multi-generational experiment as well, going back to World War II, when my grandfather took part in Operation Whitecoat. So, yeah, this was something that I was sort of born into that I found out about more recently. In the past, children were selected through standardized testing in public schools. Currently, not as many children are used. They're used in different smaller programs, but for the most part, they're using clones. And the clones are assets that they see as a little bit more disposable than the children that they were exploiting. They used all types of very bizarre types of training, including sensory deprivation, putting you in deprivation chambers for hours and hours, and making you do visual exercises. They would also put us in very bizarre and upsetting virtual reality scenarios and see how we would react and do personality profiles and decide how they're going to use us in the future. And they were doing all of that to desensitize us to violence and seeing other people violated, which is difficult to do with children that are intuitive or empaths, but they were giving it their best effort. A lot of people hear the MK Ultra program and they like to lump everything under that. The MK Ultra program was a mind control. That's what the MK stood for. All of the other Ultra programs and related programs, they had different training, they had different agendas. But we've pretty much been lumping everything under the MyLab umbrella since it's gone public. And we're all under mind control. Every single one of us. We're socially programmed by the norms around us. We're programmed by television, movies, media. And we're getting to a point to where we're starting to break free from that on an individual basis. And we're utilizing our co-creative consciousness to overcome a lot of this mind control. The technology isn't working the way it used to because of the change in vibration and the raising of our consciousness. They've already lost. Many in the MyLab programs, once they're put back into their normal life, they are mind wiped, blank slated, but they exhibit symptoms of PTSD, but there's no real reason for them to have PTSD. When I was first being picked up and taken to these MyLab type programs, I found myself being slowly introduced to non-terrestrials. That you would go into like a virtual reality setting where they put the goggles on you and you're sitting in the chair, and there would be a bunch of military and medical people in the room. And then when you took the goggles off, there would be a gray alien sitting at the table. They would just spring it on you. And yeah. So they spent years acclimating people to being in the presence of non-terrestrials because no matter who you are, it's going to throw you off. We're genetically programmed to respond viscerally to the non-terrestrials. When I was almost 17, I was brought into the secret space program, which I'd been groomed for all throughout the MyLab program. They drafted me into Solar Warden. It was my Christmas break, 1986. My birthday's in 11 days, so it's February 22nd. And it was during the December, just before my 17th birthday, that they brought me in. They assigned me to a research vessel, and the captain did not want me on board. In the past, they had put what he called children on board, and they cried for mom, and it took about a year for them to acclimate, and he did not want to go through that. It was too disruptive. So instead, they sent me to the Intruder, Intercept, and Interrogation program, where they would use intuitive empaths to interrogate non-terrestrials that they had caught in our solar system or on Earth. When I was I was in that program for about a year, just under a year, and then they reassigned me back to the Summerfield. And I worked for scientists and engineers. When I was working on the science side with the scientists, they called me a specialist, and I was a technician when I was working with the engineers. Who remembers me talking about the DART craft coming in my backyard to pick me up? Renee did a pretty close depiction right here. And it was the first time I'd been taken back to the LOC since I had been separated from the SSP program. Oh, there's the backyard. Now, in the beginning, my wife didn't know what to think when I was telling her that a spacecraft was picking me up in the backyard. And she went in the backyard a couple times and saw little triangular spots on, pod, landing pad, landing gear divots. And one time she went out and she saw a pair of bare footprints walking out. They disappeared, and about 20 feet over, another pair of footprints coming back to the door. And that's when she started to, really start to believe that something bigger was going on. Okay. The Lunar Operation Command, you notice it's shaped like a swastika. When I first went in around the 1987 period, when I saw it, it still looked like this. When I was separated, when I was coming to get debriefed, they had purposely built around it to break up the look of the swastika, so it no longer looks like a swastika. This was set up by the Germans, obviously, and it was the first human base on the moon that was allowed by the other groups. The moon is considered to be a neutral zone, and the territory is, you're not to encroach on the territory. So they finally got permission from one of the non-terrestrial groups to build in their area. There are at least 11 subsurface areas to this base. I was not privy to anything below the hangar area, which is about 3 or 4 floors down. All right, here we go. This is what I was excited to debut. This is the 3D rendering of the base and the dark craft coming in. Not bad. So I've told the story how I was walked to the front of the auditorium at the LOC, and they just walked me to the front and left me and didn't tell me what was going to happen. And when I was sitting there, the room was filled with all types of people, including military and people that looked like they were political. And the people in the front started heckling me. And in the middle of heckling me, everyone got real quiet, and you can see why. These two beings appeared behind me. It's the first time he had ever seen this golden triangle-headed being, and it was just kind of, I don't know, it's like it was underwater and it didn't have any bones. It was just it was weird. And it used its toes as tripods, and it was going up and down on those as well. And so that got the attention of all of the people in the room, and then they started to ask me questions, and Tier Air was answering through me. The cabal, for the lack of a better word. The cabal is not a single group that cannot be defeated. It is a group of loosely knit, materialistic syndicates. They're just criminal syndicate groups. That's all they are. They want us to build them up as an all-powerful force that cannot be defeated. That's part of the mind control. And as y'all are seeing, it looks like their time is done. It's becoming so obvious. Yeah. Some of the groups are real pragmatic, nuts and bolts, scientific, and they stick to that way of thinking. But others are very esoteric, very much into these different dark belief systems where, they use sacrifice and all kinds of horrible things to try to boost their magic. I think we've talked about it on Jimmy Church's show. Very recently, after the change in administrations, the military-industrial complex, after some changes, started to send Marines into some of these FEMA bases. After the change of administration, a lot of them were supposed to give up their power. Instead, they locked the doors. So these Marines were sent to break through all the concrete, cut through the steel, and give them one opportunity to surrender. And if they didn't surrender, they were to kill everyone in the entire base. And it was, and these bases can, as you know, hold a lot of people. These Marines they're special forces, and they were not briefed on anything non-terrestrial. They just thought they were going in to clean out a bunch of criminals. After they had breached the base, they found themselves face to face with reptilians doing battle with them. And a lot of these Marines are, Southern boys, and next thing you know, they're fighting something that looks like the devil, according to their belief systems. So these guys were so incredibly traumatized, they couldn't function after this battle. This was very recently, in the last 2 months. Yeah, and a lot of other bases are being cleared out. This base, I don't know where it was located. It was a unacknowledged base, so it wasn't one of the ones you would hear of, like the Denver airport or a number of the other ones. The Draco are not all powerful. They have been defeated in the past. Over the millennia, the reptilians have been kicked off of our planet. They come back during times of weakness, like after a cataclysm, which is what happened most recently about 12,800 years ago. We had a huge cataclysm which destroyed a civilization that you are familiar with, Atlantis. And this group was keeping the reptilians in check at that time. And after they got flattened, the reptilians came back in force, and we have the mess we have now. And apparently, they are playing a negative role, their group consciousness is. When Tyrier showed me our group consciousness, it was pictured, it was shown to me as a person that has extreme PTSD and is somewhat schizophrenic, it has been extremely traumatized. And it turns out that our superconsciousness has been in an abusive relationship with the superconsciousness of this reptilian group. And it's like a cosmic domestic violence type situation and we're both supposed to be learning something through this process. There are a number of groups that make up the Draco Federation, one of which is these insectoid beings. And they have different types you've all heard of, very ant-like beings, mantis-type beings. And they genetically modify their own genome and create these types of other insectoids that some people see that have like 4 arms. They can design them to do whatever they want. In the beginning, the ancient breakaway civilizations, they were kind of, it was just a concept. I was reading about it on the smart glass pads. And, I got the general information that they had been making contact with us for a long time. They had been helping us after cataclysms. And we were considered them, a lot of the people in the past considered them gods. In this case, the Mayan group, they are completely service to others. That is their mandate. Back when they were on Earth, they were not originally from here. They had been brought here from the Pleiades during a rough time in their star system, and their population grew to over 40 million people, and they disappeared because their group came back to get them and remove them from the planet. But they did leave a contingent behind that had underground bases and also have bases in the Kuiper Belt. So they've been here with us the whole time. I mentioned a little bit about the acclimation process of ET contact. We have a genetic or cellular memory going way back from these beings. We're socially programmed with a fight or flight response and genetically. The ETs, they're aware of this. Some of the negative ones will exploit us to get loosh from us, and the negative ones will also appear to us as, I guess, beings of light to manipulate us. That's why, and I don't want to discourage people from from continuing to do their spiritual path and to reach out for guides. But we do have to be careful and use a lot of wisdom when you're communicating, because these beings, they can present themselves as angels of light and give you great information, but just poison the well as they do. And it's happened quite a bit, and it confuses the people that are in real contact, and it confuses the information, which is the goal. So just be careful when you're reaching out. When you're fishing in the swamp, you can catch an alligator, and those aren't ones you want to catch. Well, we have all heard Mars is a dead planet, right? Well, it's not an uninhabited planet. This is a declassified film of Camp Century. It's a top secret Arctic base, and it was from Project Iceworm. I'm showing this because not only have they been building bases in Antarctica like this since the 50s, but this is very similar to how they built bases on the Moon and Mars. They would tunnel out the ground, clear out the ground area like this, and then use mostly local materials, fabricated materials, to build inside. And then they would use nuclear power in the beginning. Then they graduated to where they were using thorium generators, and then now they have zero-point energy, so they don't have to have the more dangerous technologies. I'll let this play for a few minutes and chime in. Some of you may have seen this on the internet. It was released, I don't know, like a year or two ago. Now, they would ship, everything was prefabricated. Everything had been put together on Earth, designed to go together like a puzzle by numbers. And I helped actually to build out an outpost on Mars. And we used a lot of the local materials on the surface after they had built below ground, and it was very much like this. It was much lower tech than you would expect. The interplanetary corporate conglomerate. We've talked about how they use slave labor. They have been in continual trade with over 900 ET species. And believe it or not, non-terrestrials from other star systems are traveling here because they love the technology we build. There are ETs coming to trade in their used cars for cars that we built. If that's not bizarre, I mean, that's how far ahead our breakaway civilization is. Now, they don't have money in the cosmos. It's a barter system. And they barter and trade technology and biological material. And I'll kind of leave it at that. I don't want to get too dark, but it involves the human slave trade with close to 1 million people a year. The inner Earth seems to be probably the most popular topic that I've talked about. A lot of you remember me talking about witnessing the city in the deep cavern. This is an animation that Renee created to help depict it. It's very good. The only difference is the cavern was the size of a state. There's no way to really accurately depict on scale how large it was. Unbelievable. There was mist up along the ceiling of the cavern. It was, like New York or Manhattan under the ground. Inside these pillars, natural pillars, they had built into them. It looked like a bunch of condos. I guess that's where all the They don't have money. I was going to say this is where all the rich people go, but they don't have money. They're a fourth density being, and apparently they trace their lineage back to the Earth, and some of them, including the Anshar here, back like 18 million years. Here's a new image of the Anshar Library in Antarctica, the beginning of partial disclosure, which we want to avoid. Recently, I was brought down to the Anshar city. I was teleported and found myself in an area I hadn't been. It was a hangar bay that was full of these very large egg-shaped craft. And waiting there for me was Gonzalez, Kari, and two of the very quiet Asian-looking groups that have the crystal under their skin on their forehead. They all have a crystal implanted under their forehead. And they're very tall, they're very quiet, and they have a very, very strong presence. They don't have to talk. And I will continue with the experience after we got in the egg-shaped craft. They were obviously ready to go on some sort of an expedition. They were wearing suits that looked like sort of like chainmail, and when you put them on and they are activated, the chainmail just kind of the threads get tighter and tighter, and it looks like it's all one piece. The boots. The helmet looked kind of like what people, what is it called? Fencers, the fencing helmet. It's not called a helmet, a mask. Yeah. In the 1938-39 Antarctic expedition, the Nazis discovered Atlantis, and they kept it quiet. They found what we are now calling pre-Adamite ruins. And this is a group that I showed the picture of that looks like, the pharaohs. They have the very strange torsos. They have weird shaped, narrow ribs, real wide hips. Definitely don't look like they're from around here. The originals were 12 to 14 foot tall, extremely thin, very skinny, and when they found these bodies, they said it was obvious that they had not developed naturally on this planet. They had developed on a planet with much different barometric pressure and gravity. Since these ruins have been discovered, we've all seen on the news all the different bigwigs in the cabal that have been going down and visiting Antarctica for many different reasons. And it's basically turned into a cabal Disneyland. What has been discovered is they've discovered 3 massive ships that were used to crash land on our planet. And they jokingly call them the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, because it brought this group here to Earth. We flew right through the wall and then popped out in a cavern, ice cavern similar to where I had been taken before. Where we landed, it was probably a football field away. They were hard at work excavating, using pressurized steam to dig through the snow and expose some of the structures. There were all types of bodies that were laying out from these pre-Adamites and their genetic experiments. There was even one. It was a male about close to 5 foot tall, shorter, and he was in the fetal position, and he had a tail. So this group, they were very big into genetic experiments, and from what we found there, it had gotten completely out of control. The bodies were not, how you picture the caveman just frozen and then you chip him out and reanimate him. They were in terrible shape. Their bodies were all contorted, arms wrapped around their bodies a few times like they had just been hit by something like a deluge of water, which froze instantly. After we had gone inside the library, and the two, and I don't have a name for them right now, two Asian-looking groups, they went in and immediately started removing, in the snowbank, there was obviously a corner of a building sticking out, and the suits we were wearing allowed us to walk right through the wall. And then we were inside this library that was full of all types of scrolls, bound books, and they walked right to one tray and they opened up a folding box and started loading it with these metal scrolls. And I saw one of the metal scrolls that had popped open, and they looked like laser etching on them, and they were strange-looking characters. And to this, I don't know why they removed them, but they obviously did not want these pre-Adamites getting access to this information. The pre-Adamites, when this deluge happened, everyone on the main continent, they were wiped out. All of the enclaves across the planet survived, and all they had with them was a technology that they had brought with them and the knowledge to engineer. So they were in survival mode. We've all heard about the Mandela effect, right? Is everyone familiar with that? The Mandela effect is just one component of this ascension that we're looking forward to. Our co-creative consciousness is interacting with time, space, and matter. And we are co-creating what we're experiencing. And we have the power to co-create a positive temporal reality or a negative one. It just depends on where we feel like we need to be as a collective. Now, time is elastic, just like space is. And all of these paradoxes we had created by traveling back in time, we were trying to fix by going back, and we're just making it worse. Then all of a sudden, we started realizing, and then it was confirmed from a non-terrestrial race, that these timelines were snapping back together. So, we didn't need to try to fix it. There was some sort of there's something intelligent about the way the universe was working. And it baffles a lot of the scientists, but it doesn't baffle this group. Now, as I stated, ascension is going to be a co-created experience. We are creating the ascension, and we're creating it in tandem with what is happening in our galaxy. There are energetic changes going on that are undeniable, and we have to either acclimate to them or they're going to tear us apart. And that's where, we see the good are getting better, the bad are getting worse, and I've added to it, the crazy are getting crazier. They can't handle the energies. No one can. Now, just about everyone is expecting some sort of a solar event. And the information goes everything from a complete 360-degree full circumference mass coronal ejection that they believe is going to happen. And when that happens, the sun will appear to go dark for a number of days before it pops back into equilibrium and comes back alive. And in that moment, they expect there to be a number of flashes. And a lot of this is feedback through the cosmic web from other star systems. As the energies are hitting them, these cosmic energies that are causing all of this change, it feeds back from star to star. And depending on where you are in the cosmic web, you're going to have this ascension event or event that helps us go through a massive genetic and consciousness change. What Thierry has explained to me is that this density change that we're going to experience is almost completely a consciousness component. It is a change in consciousness. And once we have a different, broader consciousness, we realize our co-creative abilities, and then matter changes. Our bodies, the world around us changes because we change it. And that's it. Yes, Linda? What is in different areas of the galaxy, in between, as we rotate around the galaxy, the great year or cycle, in certain open areas there are giant gas clouds, for the lack of a better word, that we've been aware of for a long time. They were sending craft out, gathering telemetry from these very hot gaseous clouds, and taking that. And that when they were taking a look at this energy that our solar system is traveling through as we travel around the galaxy, they were noticing that the people were starting to behave bizarrely. So they reproduced that energy in a controlled environment, and they found out that if negative people started to have sort of a breakdown. They were having mental and emotional breakdowns. And people that were positively oriented were starting to bliss out. And, they realized pretty quickly that as our solar system passed through this cloud, that not only was this energy going to go around the magnetosphere of our star and then feed in through both poles, then traveling to each of the planets where they have magnetic connections to, but that this energy feeds back throughout the entire cosmic web. And in our local stellar neighborhood, about 52 stars, we're in the very center, and there is a supergate that is just outside of our solar system that is, it gives you access to not only everywhere in our galaxy, but other galaxies. So it's used for travel and commerce by many different beings. So we're in a very coveted area of this local stellar neighborhood. It's the feedback from within the cosmic web, which I'd have to give more information. I've talked about it on Cosmic Disclosure about how there is an electric connection between each star as they're traveling, as it's spinning around the galaxy. And it's like electricity. They take the path of least resistance. That's how stargates work. You're traveling through the cosmic web. Okay, well, I guess that's it. We would like people to subscribe to our YouTube channels, and we really want people to pay close attention to this project. We're really excited about it. As Roger said, I've been asked, why would you do Cosmic Disclosure, bring on all these guests to legitimize the information, and then go the route of sci-fi? And Thierry had basically told me that what we're doing here is a great job, but we're preaching to the choir. We need to reach out to other genres and plant these seeds in their consciousness. And if we do so, we can bump that 100th monkey effect up to a millionth monkey effect. And we can use this medium to help to guide the co-creative consciousness in a more positive direction. And from the beginning, Thierry told me it did not matter whether people believed me or not. And he said it was of no consequence. And it was of a consequence to me, because I was the one out there talking. But I finally realized that, he was right. It's not about whether people believe me or not. It is about how they process and assimilate the information. And if the Blue Avian message can help us raise our consciousness, then we're going to be ready for this energetic explosion from the sun. Thank you.
Yeah. Invite Linda up here. Do you want to invite Linda up here to talk?
We got a little bit of time. Does anyone want to do a Q&A? Do we have another mic? Awesome. You point me where? Yeah, how do we do this? I guess raise your hand and Renee will, he'll pick whoever he wants.
Yes. I'm wondering about, since the frequency's gone to 36 hertz, the Schumann resonance, it's getting very fast. We're going very fast through this process, and I'm wondering, what do you think? You think that the ascension event will come before the full disclosure? It's possible because it just jumped from 2015 was
Right.
16 hertz. Before that, it was all along they've been measuring at 7.8 hertz.
Right. Right. Yeah, and there has been a lot of scientists will disagree that there's a change in the Schumann resonance. They play with the numbers a lot, just like they do with earthquakes. But yes, the frequency of our entire solar system is changing, and we have to have the ability to change along with it. That's why we're seeing a lot of people having a lot of triggering and mental issues and emotional issues right now. We're being forced to deal with our karma and all the things. And you may notice all the things that you'd buried a long time ago. Have they started popping up out of the blue, and you're being forced to deal with them? Well, there's a reason for that. All of the emotion tied to those experiences, those emotions have density. They're tangible, and they're a part of you. These energies, as they're passing through us, when they hit those things we haven't dealt with, those energetic anchors, they hold us back. We can't progress until we start to deal with ourselves. We have to follow the message. You don't have to change your religion, your belief system. All you have to do is, start trying to forgive others. If you don't forgive others, they have the same power over you now as they did when they traumatized you. You have to forgive yourself for what you've done, and you have to focus daily on being more service to others, become more loving, and it really helps if you do get on a high vibration diet, because that is going to help you deal with these energies and be a lot in a more positive way.
Hi. I'm a little curious about the jobs that you were given when you entered this program. Could you elucidate? And also why you're allowed to talk about this? No one's stopping you.
Well, as it turns out, there's sort of a disclosure war going on. There are factions of the Air Force that have been working with, like the NSA, DIA, and some other military intelligence groups, and they have a space program that they've been promised is going to be, made public very soon, and they're excited about it. This is a program that I used to call a lower secret space program. It's lower technology, and they're told that they're the top of the pyramid, there's nothing above them, and they believe it. And if you tell them otherwise, they're ready to fight you. Now, the Navy also has a much more advanced program. There's a lot of competition between the Navy and the Air Force in space. Right now, the Navy, a faction of the Navy, has wanted all of this to come out. Are y'all familiar with William Tompkins? Yes, what he's been doing has been sanctioned by a certain group within the Navy, Naval Intelligence. And that group is a part of the alliance and a part of the group that had been encouraging me to bring information forth that was much more detailed and had talked a lot more about what was really going on out there than even the people in these Air Force programs knew about.
Corey, oops, sorry. Corey,
No problem.
yeah, I came up with this question a year ago, but after today, I think I know your answer. But basically, are you optimistic about the eternal struggle between good and evil for the positive outcome? So you can rephrase the question or just say yes or no.
No, you're right. We're seeing it all around us. The energetic changes, they're causing the evil people to become more evil, which they expose themselves. They can't control their behavior, so they expose themselves. And as we're becoming the good people are becoming more awake, we're getting to the point where we're not going to take it anymore. And it's time that we get out and start demanding answers, demanding the full truth. When they come out with these partial disclosure narratives, we need to be in their face and saying, what about this? What about this? And make it impossible for them to draw out over 50 or 100 years this partial disclosure narrative that they're planning on doing, which is they're going to tell us, we found Atlantis. It's amazing. And that's going to blow everybody's minds as it is. A good portion of the planet thinks that the planet's only 7,000 years old. So, it's going to blow their paradigms immediately. Now, and then after that, they're going to reveal this Air Force, DIA, NSA program that they have two barely more advanced than the ISS. They have two bases up that they made out of repurposed rocket stages as they were launching rockets into space, the lower programs. And they're going to reveal this, and they're going to say, oh, by the way, not only do we have this secret space program, but we've discovered these weird ruins on other planets. That blows our minds again. What they've been doing in Antarctica is since, for the last almost 14, almost 15 years, they've had very prestigious professors, archaeologists coming down and helping them document it. They've been videoing it, documenting the whole process, except they're going to give us a sanitized version to where it's only humans. They're removing from the one site that they've been filming, they've removed all the pre-Adamite bodies and the hybrids and just left the ancient humans that were working with this pre-Adamite group. And then later on, they're going to discover these ships and these pre-Adamite beings. And what the cabal groups had planned on doing is then saying, oh yeah, we knew about this the whole time. We're related to them. We're their bloodline. And therefore you should worship us and make us, your leaders of the planet. And we're not going to let that happen. I don't see how it's possible, but all of these groups have agreed that is the narrative, that is what they're going to push.
Corey, I'd like to know what your knowledge is on the medical field of the titanium that's in implants that are being put in people for mind control.
I haven't heard that specifically, but they use all sorts of methods like that. They use vaccinations for viruses that go around, like the flu vaccine.
Right.
I used to work at a pharmaceutical company that produces a large number of those vaccines. And I did computer support, and I was talking to the bioengineers, and I asked them, do you take these shots? And they're like, oh no, I would never give my family these shots. And I asked why, and they stated there are all kinds of things, genome that we put in those things that people don't know about, including insect genetics.
And mercury.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but they've also been putting in nanites that are inactive, and they're activated by a field that is turned on.
Hi, Corey. My question is about the ascension, and it relates to the Law of One, which you've recently been reading. How does the density relate to the rest of us who haven't read that and what we call dimensional rising? Is there a correlation between the two, or are they just kind of two separate things?
Yeah, those terms get exchanged quite a bit. Way Thierry and Kari had both explained densities to me as that each density is just a different consciousness frequency. You know how a lot of people think that, if there's a fourth or fifth density being in the room, we would be like, where are they? Mm-hmm. No, if you think about it, you have bacteria, plants, animals, you got, first, second density beings that we can touch, we can interact with. Some of them can make us sick. So it works the same way going up the rung, up the ladder. These beings are physical, but they've obtained such a higher level of consciousness above ours that at that point, they have almost full use of their co-creative consciousness and their abilities to manipulate matter and time and space. Therefore, they are able to teleport and do things that seem magical to us.
Does that seem more to be the physical abilities? Because when we raise in dimension, what I've heard about that is becoming more service to others and not having any of the lower density or lower dimensional polarities and so forth. Does that also come into play with this?
At a certain point, there are positive, negative duality within the densities going up, I believe, to fifth. I'm still learning a lot of that. And, a lot of this stuff, we're trying to figure things out. We're all picking up pieces off the ground, little pieces, and then grinding them together into this lens that we use to process all information. So that's where distortions come in. And all of us have distortions. And when we do get full disclosure, we're all going to be in for a shock. We're all going to have to shift our paradigm and our belief systems to the new reality.
Since 2007, I've been keeping a dream journal, and many of my dreams, I've experienced getting training, learning lessons, being checked out in craft, just learning how to use energy, healing, how the universe works, and there's always beings there, one or more beings, usually humanoid. I usually don't see them, but I know that they're there. Never any grays, never any reptoids, usually humanoid beings that are providing these lessons, providing this training. Those examples are just a few. So I wondered if there's anybody else or you have come across that, and are they doing that?
Yes, there is a large confederation of benevolent beings that are trying to influence us. I've been getting so many communications from people, doctors, lawyers, attorneys that do not follow this field. They have an experience where they see a blue sphere. They Google and they find my information and they contact me to start asking me questions. What is happening is that there are so many of you out there. I'd say just about every one of you sitting down here. You're not from here. Most of you are not from here. There are a lot of other people like us that have bought into the lie and they forgot who they were. These experiences are trying to remind them of why they're here. And a lot of people think that Gonzalez and I are the only ones in contact with the blue avians. There are thousands of people out there in contact with the blue avians, and they've all been given different missions.
Hi, Corey. I have two quick questions. The first one, right here.
Oh.
Hi. The first one is, besides doing the work on our karma and on the energy and the high vibration diet, is there anything that we can physically do to prepare for the ascension? And the shift in the energies, those energies. And then the second question is, what what can we do to help? Is there a way to donate money? Do you have a vehicle through which we can donate money to support what you're doing and to support this whole process? And what can we do? Just let's say this is the first time I've heard you speak, or I know anything and I walked in. What can I do to help?
Yeah, I mean, I do take donations. I'm hopefully starting to get to a place to where I will not need donations, but we are crowdfunding this campaign. And our website, Comic Disclosure, did go live, and if people want to donate, they can there. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of your... The preparation is almost entirely a spiritual shift that we need to undergo. And our bodies and spirit, mind and spirit, are so interconnected that on the physical level, we do need to start being careful what we're putting in our bodies, what information we're putting in our minds. There's so much negative information or tainted information out there. It's really hard right now. Using discernment is very difficult. There's too much to discern. So this is going to be more of a spiritual type of answer than a physical one.
Hello. Our question is about, we have two questions. Can you talk more about the alliance? Like, who are these beings? Are they humans? Are they hybrids? And are we all part of the alliance because we're here? And what's yours about the timeline?
Oh yeah, is there a linear timeline as like when we're going to hit these clouds?
Okay, the second question first. We have been hitting the outskirts of these clouds since at least the 1930s, if not the 1920s. So it's been going on for a long time, but we're hitting to like the thickest part of it. I'm sorry, what was the other question? The alliance, yes. Yes, anyone who is working to raise the vibration and to work for full disclosure, you're the alliance. Yay! Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing that they've been trying to impart onto me is that every single one of us, we have to stop looking for something to come from the sky and change everything. Those of us that are going through this change, that are awakened, we are the ones that we've been waiting for. We are the ones that are going to fix this and change this. No one's going to come in and do it for us. We've helped contribute to the problem. We're going to have to contribute to the solution.
Hi, Corey. I have two things. One thing is the world's coming unglued right now. There's a lot of media bashing of Putin and Trump, and I know you guys have mentioned a couple things. I don't know if you want to share your viewpoint, if there's a lot of media lies, or if it is a true exposure going on. And also, when you're talking about individuals being connected with, have you heard of any like blue spheres being put around people? And if so, what would those actions be? What would be happening?
Typically, in my experience, if they've put a blue sphere around someone, they're trying to shield them from something or protect them from something.
So have you been aware of that happening
Yes.
to people?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's happened to me, and the crew
Okay.
I was with on the Mars expedition. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then anything you can comment, because a lot of people are coming unglued out
Yeah.
there, and it seems like, is the media like lying, or is it really true exposure of these people?
Well, there's so much propaganda from every side, every side, even the alliance. There's a lot of propaganda with them, and the current president, I don't like to say Trump because so many people get triggered. The current president, even though he's really perplexing me on what he's doing with the environmental stuff and all of that, he was and is backed by this alliance that is trying to bring about disclosure and get rid of this syndicate that's been running the West.
Hi, Corey. Have the blue avians or anyone told you exactly how many dimensions our universe has? And would it be 11, which I could be wrong, but I think our current quantum physics says it's 11 dimensions. And could that, if in fact it is 11, Is that why so many people see 1111 around, or some multiple of 11?
That's a good question, because I see it all the time too. It's bizarre. And usually to me that just is a synchronicity that means you're on the right path. Now, Tier Air had told me that there is an infinite number of densities. Now, I say infinite because everything is designed to return you to source. And if we're all one, and we're like fragments that are all trying to return back to source, and we have to go through these densities. Now, dimensions, parallel dimensions, there are infinite parallel dimensions.
Recently, Stephen Greer went on record saying you're a really nice guy, but...
but I'm brainwashed.
Yeah. That the human trafficking that you talk about out there is a falsehood. And I wanted to see if you had a response to his claims on record.
Yeah, he's had his briefings. I think a lot of his briefings have come from the Air Force faction, and they believe what they're telling him, and I don't see why he would have a reason to doubt them. So, the positive, negative aliens existing, that's just a belief system. We all have them. Science is a belief system. So I can't fault him for having his own beliefs, because we all have our own beliefs, and not everyone's going to agree with me. And, there's some stuff that I'm sure I've gotten wrong, that when we do get a disclosure event, I will see that there are some things that I'm human. The things I observed on the glass pad, that was decades ago. So, I really don't have anything against him or any negative feelings towards him, because I know that he's on his journey and doing the best he can, just like each of us are.
Hi, Corey. I want to say thank you for everything you've done and for risking your life to bring this forward.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you. You're all going to be on my next vlog. Well, I think we're getting close to the end here. Yes. By 2026, the question Linda asked was, why is Elon Musk so determined to get to Mars by 2026? There is a time window that it's between 2018 and 2024 that these different syndicate groups have used probable future technologies, Plano classical physics on the mechanics of our solar system, when they were going to reach this the most energetic part of this cloud, and that's when they're expecting this flash and these events to occur, is in that time window. A lot of the elites are pumping money into finding a way to get off the planet and to put colonies on other planets for continuity of species in case something happens to the Earth. And a lot of them believe that they have different beliefs about what's going to occur when the solar flash happens. Some of them believe it's just going to knock out electronics for a little while. It's going to be like the year 2000, the Y2K thing. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Others believe we're going to get hit by a giant mass coronal ejection and burn everything up. The groups that believe that are seeding information to people that have the resources to go off planet to start to do a continuity of species program, which we've already had since the 50s and 60s. We've already been creating vaults out in a place that you asked me about that I said I couldn't say a whole lot about at Contact in the Desert. I was trying to be quiet here. There are continuity of species vaults that they plan on using to repopulate the planet, or also after they terraform Mars. So Elon Musk, his agenda, I believe, is a good one. He's wanting to, I guess, break free from the control system that wants to keep us out of space. And same with Virgin Space. They're trying to get out and not only set up a situation to where there would be continuity of species if an event happened on Earth, but they also are wanting to start to take advantage of the vast minerals that are out there. There are asteroids out there that are a good part, like precious metals and what we call rare earth minerals, that they can mine and use. Legislation's already been passed for it to protect them legally if they, to where it's sort of like any human rights violations that happen or anything, they won't be held accountable on Earth for the things that'll happen. And that's a law that was already passed. That's out there. I can get the information on the name of the law, but Dr. Sala has reported on it extensively. Okay, we'll do one or two more.
Okay, thank you again. And I'd like you to elaborate a little bit, if you could, on the 20 and back program and the timelines that you saw there and compare them to what you're seeing on your second 20.
Well, when you're in the 20 and back program, you're completely isolated from everything that's occurring on Earth. You're isolated from television, radio. There wasn't the internet when we traveled back then, but they do not allow you access to any information that you could use to exploit once you've been returned to the regular timeline. So I would not have seen anything because I was completely removed from the Earth for that time period. Well, back in the day, they used to use mainly a chemical type of blank slating. It was a chemical. They used chemicals and then hypnosis, and program you with screen memories, which are the hardest things to shake loose. 3 to 5% of the people that they blank slate, the memories come back. And these are usually the intuitive empaths or the highly sensitives. So what occurs is that you have this physical hard drive here. Well, what you're experiencing is not only stored right here, otherwise you wouldn't have memory of past lives. What occurs is that you have all this information up in the cloud virtually. And people that are intuitive empaths or highly sensitives, they have more of a connection to their higher self. And it's almost like if you have a hard drive die on you in a data center, or something happens to where the information's removed from the hard drive, it just backs up or downloads from the cloud or the backup. And this is a process that happens, it happens in trickles, and then it just hits you all at once. And most of it hit me within 2 weeks of coming back. It started to hit me. Then I had a lot of the screen memories that, originally my memory of when I was taken from my house to enter the program was that I was teleported through some sort of Stargate out of my room. After all of the screen memories had been broken through, I remembered I got up, walked out of my house to the front, got in a white van, and they drove me to Carswell Air Force Base. So they're brilliant in how they do this brainwashing and blank slating, and they're diabolical. I can't hear. Yes, well, a lot of the people that have had these 20 and back experiences, and a lot of scientists, they'll do 6 years or 8 years, and they'll come back and they've been not only have they been blank slated, but they've been given screen memories that causes them to have a reaction and be the biggest skeptics of all. That they just won't, that's just crazy talk. When they were up there serving. So it's different with each person how they can't use the same type of blank slating and mind control with each person too. They have to have a personality profile and understand how it's a huge process, and it's a very involved process. It's not just a matter of them giving you a shot, giving you a false memory, and then patting you on the butt and saying go on your way. It's a huge process. One more.
Hi, Corey.
Where are we?
I'm right here.
Oh.
Hi. Okay, my question, hope it's not too silly, and it might have been answered already, but it's pretty simple. It's concerning what we're going through right now and all the protesting that's happening all over the country. And to me, I've been having mixed feelings, especially my generation's been like a generation where they want to stand up and they want to be heard. Yet I feel that the tactics of protesting might not be the best from my perception. My question to you is, what are the Blue Avians? What would be your advice to this whole rising of protesting against something that we know it kind of has to happen and whatnot?
Well, I do believe that there need to be protests, but I do know for a fact that the control structure right now, it's divide and conquer. And they know that the gig is up. They want us to be at each other's throats, because imagine all of that passion being directed at the control structure and how quickly they would, it would be over. They cannot allow that to happen. So if we can redirect this passion, it would be a good thing. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.